Hello and welcome to Wrestling at Random. I'm Jeremy Deemer.
And I am Adam Summers.
And this is the podcast where every week we review a classic pro wrestling event from a streaming service.
And here in season 2 of Wrestling at Random, that classic event is not a pay-per-view. It's not a major arena territory show. It's not a Clash of the Champions or a Saturday night's main event. Here in season 2, we are all about weekly pro wrestling television. Anything that is a weekly regular pro wrestling TV show, that's what's in the mix here in the randomizer. And this week we have ECW Hardcore TV from January 31st, 1998.
That's right. This is the first episode of season 2. So this is the first time we are parachuting in to a weekly television show, and we're going to see if we understand what's going on. We're going to find out what's good, what's not, what we enjoyed. And a lot of this we have not seen, including I have not seen the episode of television that we are going to review today. So this was all new to me. And like you mentioned, this is ECW Hardcore TV. Now, if you want to hear about the history of ECW, Extreme Championship Wrestling, go back and listen to the intros for the ECW November to Remember 2000 show we reviewed, or the ECW Living Dangerously 98 show. Both are available right now in Season 1 of the archives of this show. So go back, listen to the intros of those if you want to hear about the ECW history. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the ECW Hardcore TV show and its history. This was the syndicated television show for ECW. So this was their only TV show at the time. The show would feature footage from live events, backstage interviews, vignettes, music video montages, which we get one on this episode. We'll talk about that later. The show otherwise had no consistent format, always trying to keep that feeling, just that fresh feeling. And the show was actually voted as Best Weekly Television Series in the 1994, 1995, and 96 Wrestling Observer Newsletter Awards.
Well, and also think about what wrestling TV was like at that time. This was pre-Monday Night Wars, at least 94 and going into part of 95. Raw was not what it would be later. And outside of that, you either had, weekend 1 hour or 2 hour shows like, WCW Saturday Night or syndicated shows like WWF Superstars. So the ECW format or non-format, I guess, as you could call it, was definitely if nothing else, different and a breath of fresh air back then.
A lot of things ECW were doing was a breath of fresh air for pro wrestling and would influence both the WWF and WCW in their television products. On August 27th, 1999, ECW on TNN debuted on the Nashville Network, TNN. The show would air nationally on Friday nights. But this show, the ECW Hardcore TV show, it ran in syndication from April 6th, 1993 until December 31st of 2000.
And here in Chicago, Jeremy, I can vividly remember it was the summer of 1998. So I don't know. I think it was probably around 8 months, probably about 7 months after this TV show aired that we're reviewing. And I was so excited. I had been following ECW in the magazines. I've told the story, I think, on this podcast on the season 1 trailer. Maybe I didn't, but my first exposure to ECW TV after reading about the company for years in magazines was going to Chili's with my parents. And we walked in, this was in 1996. And what did we walk in and see? In the bar, which ostensibly they were showing sport. I guess at that point it would have been like Sports Channel Philadelphia. They had it on in the bar because they were going to be showing a Blackhawks game in the bar. And when I walked in, what was on? Sabu versus Too Cold Scorpio for the ECW TV title. And I immediately told my dad that we are going to go sit in the bar and watch this until it's over. And my dad, to his credit, took me into the bar, and we sat down and watched that match. So yeah, that was my first exposure. But the excitement level, if you were a fan of ECW without having weekly TV, when they finally got TV in your area, it was through the roof. And I think here it was on a random station, channel 62 WJYS at like 2 a.m, but it didn't matter. It was that exciting.
No, we were definitely in Chicago market. We were late to the party when it came to ECW, but yeah, definitely the Philadelphia, New York markets were heavy with this ECW syndication. And yeah, it was a big deal when it came to Chicago, and it continued to spread nationwide until they abandoned the syndication show for going all in on their national television show, the ECW on TNN show. So looking at this show, it opens with a video package, which Paul Heyman's doing voiceover, telling us that, giving us a history of starting in 1997, the triple threat was comprised of the franchise Shane Douglas, Chris Candido, and Bam Bam Bigelow.
With Rick Rude coming into the picture here, which is one of those things that you may not know unless you're a hardcore fan of ECW during a very specific time, or you may have known but had completely forgotten about, like I had, which also included Rick Rude as, I believe, the first regular or semi-regular color commentator for Joey Styles. It had always been Joey Styles by himself on the TV broadcast up until that point.
That's right. October 16th, 1997. Queens, New York. Ravishing Rick Rude was in and double crosses Shane Douglas. He has Bam Bam Bigelow, his triple threat member, face Douglas for the ECW World Championship, and Bam Bam Bigelow won the match. November to Remember 97. Bigelow breaks Douglas's elbow in the match. Douglas legit hurt, but Douglas hits a belly-to-belly through a table, defeats Bam Bam Bigelow, and once again became the ECW World Champion.
That was on pay-per-view, by the way, and that was in Shane Douglas's hometown of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, in the Golden Bowl or the Golden Dome, I think it was called, which is the same building that the majority of what we'll see on this week's TV emanates from.
We see a quick shot of Douglas having surgery.
Yikes! Yeah, I was glad that the sheet was there because, like, I watch wrestling. I've seen blood. I have watched the occasional death match in my time, but I cannot watch surgery videos.
And then we get a quick cut to Joey Styles. Shane Douglas will make a major announcement in front of his hometown crowd in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, like you mentioned.
Can we also mention, I don't know if this counts as a fashion report, if we're talking about the aesthetics of the arena itself, but I love the Golden Dome in Pittsburgh. I had forgotten how cool of a building this was. To me, it's on the Mount Rushmore of pro wrestling arena ceilings, as strange
Very
as that
so.
sounds. It's right up there with the Scope in Norfolk, Virginia, as one of those cool, unique ceilings in a wrestling venue that just stands out and you notice it. It's one of the things that I loved about ECW is that just any manner of National Guard armories, rec centers, bingo halls, or the occasional small arena, like TV, you always knew, at least I did, if you're a hardcore fan of ECW, you always knew what building, what city they were in immediately when you saw it because they were so distinct.
Douglas and Francine are in the ring. The audio is terrible. This is the house mic, not wired into the soundboard for this show. So you're hearing
the ambient sound of what the crowd was hearing over the mic. That was another bad thing about ECW TV. Again, it was part of in a way, it was part of the charm, but it was frustrating here. I was glad I was listening on my earbuds because it was, this was not your normal high-end audio for a TV broadcast.
Now we get loud, "You're number one" chants from the crowd.
You're number one.
He teases that he might retire. Dr. Larry Bell's advice was that Shane Douglas is done.
He had harsh, he'll have harsh words for Larry Bell later, but the crowd has harsh words. They boo Larry Bell, who's not there, but they boo the mention of him, and they chant, F Larry Bell. And right away I realize and remember why I loved ECW crowds.
That's right. He says Dr. Dean something at the University of Pittsburgh agreed that he is done.
I was hoping it was Dean Douglas that told him that his career was over, and it was actually going to be that he looked in the mirror.
The crowd at that point starts yelling, F that guy, over and over again.
Francine is great here, I must mention. Like, she's concerned. You could tell she's empathetic. She's like standing behind him, like holding him with her head on his shoulder, like very realistically what like a significant other would do in said situation.
Shane lists off a bunch more doctors that said he's done.
Athletic commission. He says the surgeons phoned the athletic commission. The surgeon said he's done. Then the athletic commission told him done. So he says, I guess I'm done. And then it gets good.
Yeah. He says, so I guess I'm done. I'm done listening to effing doctors or commissions. I will not retire with this belt around my waist. Fiery babyface promo in his hometown from Shane Douglas. Great way to start the show.
You'll have to carry me out in an effing box because I will not retire with this belt around my waist. Then from there, like you said, the great crowd reaction, great fire from Shane Douglas. We go to what in a lot of ways is always the best part of ECW TV, the classic ECW television open, the best open and the best theme song in pro wrestling history, I think. And again, I go back to the mid 80s of watching wrestling TV as a young child, but this one still sticks with me.
Now, all the ECW highlights with the backdrop, the music underneath of what is the best wrestling show theme music in history. I stand by that. I couldn't agree more. What an awesome song! When you hear it, it's perfect for ECW.
Oh yeah!
I loved when it became during the invasion angle with the WWF and WCW alliance. That whole angle when they would come out to that as a theme song to the ring. Also a great use of that. I love this song. It's great.
In 2020, in All Japan Pro Wrestling, Yoshihiro Tajiri and Masato Tanaka, two veterans of the ECW wars, they teamed up in a tag team tournament. Their entrance music was this ECW theme song, and the crowds reacted immediately and started clapping along. So it has staying power. And I think, honestly, like if you took this open from this TV show, like that song, the video open, that is ECW. Like if you wanted to show somebody what is ECW, what did it feel like? What did it look like? What did it sound like? That is it in a nutshell, more than any angle, more than any match that you could show them. So yeah, I can't say enough good things about that. We then, after that intro is over, we go back to Joey Styles at the broadcast situation, or the broadcast location, I should say. He says that the franchise will return at Living Dangerously coming up on pay-per-view, but he will also likely be there this Saturday night at the ECW Arena for Hostile City Showdown 1998. And what that was, this was kind of an in-between time for ECW, where, as we mentioned, they were doing pay-per-views going back to Barely Legal in 1997, but they were also still doing their non-pay-per-view major shows that, where a lot of big angles would happen, big title matches would happen, and then they would sort of tease out over the course of the next 3 or 4 weeks of TV, highlights, clips, and the occasional full match from that show. So that's what was sort of on the docket. Hostile City Showdown coming up. Basically, in a lot of markets, it was this show was airing right as that show was actually about to happen, and then Living Dangerously about a month later on pay-per-view.
So they actually cut to a clip of Shane Douglas winning the NWA tournament, winning the title, throwing the belt down, pronouncing Eastern Championship Wrestling as Extreme Championship Wrestling, becoming its first world champion. That clip is one of the most famous moments in ECW history. And you can say one thing about ECW. The promotion they did the most amazing, great job highlighting the importance of that moment over and over and over again in your wrestling fandom.
Yeah, it's their origin story. I mean, like you said, Eastern Championship Wrestling existed before that, and it was already becoming Extreme, as we talked about when we reviewed I think it was at Hostile City Showdown 94. It was one of those 94 super shows where they weren't extreme in name yet, but they were certainly on the way in terms of content. But yeah, that was from all the way back in '94. They go to that, as Joey talks about Shane Douglas always being controversial. They then cut to 1996 at Hostile City Showdown, where he revealed the true nature of the relationship between Beulah McGillicuddy and Kimona Wanalea. And then Joey talks about how, that show was so hot that we ran out of copies of videotapes to be able to sell.
Because all I did was hear about the time she danced atop the ECW arena for every commercial break on every ECW
Apparently
show.
they had enough inventory for that, but they did not properly stock tapes of Hostile City 1996, Hostile City Showdown 96. But then at this point, we see the back of someone's head. We hear yelling, and we quickly realize that this chaotic scene at the broadcast location with Joey Styles is a very angry Bam Bam Bigelow.
Yeah, we only hear him, and we see the back of his purple shirt, and, are we sure that that's not Sir Oliver Humperdinck? No.
It's basically it's just like a Bam Bam Bigelow eclipse on the broadcast. He just obscures everything. We occasionally see the back of his head, but yeah, this is, it's meant to be like, oh, wow, this isn't supposed to happen. That's the vibe they went for a lot on ECW TV.
Yeah, the camera panned up just a little further, and you could see the tattoo flames on the head of Bam Bam. Still from behind, we hear, is it true? Did you say Douglas is not retiring? Bigelow says that the rumor is the Triple Threat is reforming. He needs a partner. And then we're zoomed in way too close on the back of the neck of Bigelow. We can see literally nothing. And I get what you mentioned, that they're trying to show that this isn't like, this isn't planned and this is just impromptu stuff, but I don't know why zooming in helps. I don't know what they're trying to accomplish here now with this part.
Too hard. This is trying way too hard.
So, the segment started out as a produced Joey Styles segment. So I don't know why they're just trying to change the vibe now to cameras trying to be sneaky or something. Like, it was weird, and it became difficult to follow. Bigelow then turns around, faces right in the camera, and yells, "Triple Threat, I'm going to break your arms, break your legs, break something else." I couldn't tell what he said.
Break your neck, break your face.
And then he said, "I'll break your face."
Partner again, yes.
So, I need a partner, and he stormed off. From off camera, we see him throw his shirt at Joey Styles.
Yes.
And Joey orders the camera to follow Bigelow. In the locker room, Bigelow walks past the FBI, the full-blooded Italians, this incarnation being Little Guido and Tracy Smothers.
The best incarnation of the FBI. Absolutely. The other thing I would say is that this clearly was actually filmed like in the locker room. This wasn't like they got some nice set with like a fake locker room like you'd see WCW do backstage interviews, because this is a gritty, dirty, small building in the 90s locker room for sure.
And I loved this because Bigelow's walking past the FBI. They back away against the lockers.
Yes.
And like Smothers starts tapping out against the locker as Bigelow passes. They want no part of Bam Bam at all. This was great.
Tracy was so great. Tracy Smothers, just great at everything.
So great. Until Bigelow walks past. Then to his back, they start silently flipping him off. And this was awesome. I laughed so loud. I enjoyed it. And then I didn't enjoy as much Al Snow and his mannequin head volunteering to be Bigelow's partners.
There was a lot here, more than there should be, and it's a theme with this being like this act being on this episode quite a bit. Al Snow has the head talk and say that he can help. Head says he's wonderful, he's a shooter. Then Al yells at the head. Bigelow says, "Damn, where am I going to find a partner?" He goes into like the next area of the locker room. Al Snow and Head bust in again and just start spewing nonsense. And Bigelow has a great line where like he actually gets calm for a second, but just exasperated. He says, "Damn, you've been working for McMahon for way too long."
Yeah, well, he at first Al Snow says that Head doesn't like fat dudes anyway. And then Bigelow replied, "You've been working with McMahon too long. You're sick in the head, both heads." Bigelow keeps walking. He busts into Taz's locker room.
Seems like a bad idea.
He asks for Taz to be his partner to take out
the
the triple
starts by
threat.
saying, "I'm singling you out. I need a goddamn partner. Put your ego in your back pocket. I want them dead."
Taz tells Bigelow, "I do what I want, when I want, and who I want to with."
He
and
also
who I want to
says-
do it with. And Bigelow like screams, begging, "I need your help."
Yeah, Bigelow is great here, like being somehow he's threatening and terrifying throughout all this, but also the desperation seeps through. Bigelow was always impressive in the ring, but I didn't necessarily find him like super compelling as a character or a great promo, but he was awesome here. I also loved after Taz said that he's singling Bigelow, or after Bigelow says he's singling Taz out, Taz says like, "Yeah, you're damn right you're asking me because you're not telling me nothing." There's Taz being threatening, intimidating, scary, mean, angry, miserable Taz here is just perfect.
The entire show. This is the Taz show starting at this moment, and it keeps rolling here because after commercial, we see highlights from last week's match between Bam Bam Bigelow and Rob Van Dam. Bigelow hits Van Dam with a chair, gives him a body check off the apron into the guardrail.
He goes hard off the guardrail in that classic Rob Van Dam ECW style way where he goes hard throat first into the guardrail. Then we get like the finish of this match is, it's Paul Heyman ECW stuff where anyone else booking it, it's an overbooked mess. But his ability to just the timing and weave together several storylines, it actually comes off very well.
Chris Candido runs out. Bigelow hits him with a chair. Then Bigelow nails Candido with Greetings from Asbury Park, which is his move where you have the guy over your shoulder, you drop down to your ass, and he gets driven head first into the mat.
It's basically a sit-out tombstone, fire thunder driver. It is a scary-looking move. Bigelow always did it very well and usually very rarely ever hurt anybody with it. Then here comes Chris Candido's girlfriend, Sunny. She hits the ring, begging Bigelow to stop. Joey has a great line where he says, "Wrong time, wrong place, wrong promotion."
That was great. Bigelow teases hitting Sunny with Greetings from Asbury Park, but
he picks her up over his shoulder.
Yeah, he's got her up on one shoulder. Francine gets into the ring. Quick fashion corner.
Yeah,
Francine is in a red dress that appears to be completely open in the back, hospital gown style, and she's wearing a red thong. So I couldn't tell if this was a dress not zipped up or if this was half a dress. I don't know what's happening here. I don't know what she's wearing.
What appeared to me to happen was that, I could be wrong, but it was like full dress. She tried to get in the ring and somehow she stepped on the apron, she stepped on it, and then just it all came undone. Or maybe something happened earlier on in an angle, or this was ECW and this was Francine, so that could have just been the intended.
Who knows?
The intended
I don't know
garb.
what was going on there, but
it was definitely unique.
Bigelow picks her up too, so he's got Sunny over one shoulder, Francine over the other. But that's when Shane Douglas is in the ring, nails Bigelow. As Douglas and Bigelow face off, this is when RVD comes off the top rope, kicking Bigelow in the back of the head. RVD leaps to the top rope, turns, hits the 5-star frog splash for the pin and the victory.
Then at this point, we get that classic transition on ECW TV, the record scratch with the record scratch sound with the sort of video static. We're back to the ring. We're back in Pittsburgh, and here come the Dudley Boys as our first professional wrestling match of the evening is slated to be Big Dick Dudley versus Adam Flash.
That's right. And we are 15 minutes into the show, not including commercials. So,
but unlike, which I'm sure we'll have the misfortune of watching at some point if the randomizer picks it on this season of the podcast, unlike like episodes of Monday Night Raw that it felt like at a certain point every week would open with a 20-minute Triple H promo before we got to like in-ring wrestling. Like I was not upset here that we hadn't had an original match. I was upset that we were going to the ring for this first match because I wanted to see more of this style TV and not Big Dick Dudley versus Adam Flash.
Yes, I was very disappointed when Joey Styles tells us this. But then Styles tells us that Taz is making his way to the standby area. Let's get a camera there. And we see Taz nailing young Adam Flash in the backstage area right before you go out to the ring in the gorilla position there. That area named after Gorilla Monsoon, of course. And Taz nails Adam Flash, and Paul Heyman is there with the headset on, directing the show, producing the show, and he's screaming, "What are you doing?" And Taz screams into the camera, "Somebody's going to get choked out." And at this point, Heyman, you can see him ordering up Taz's music, which was a nice touch.
First Taz says, "Play my music," and Heyman says it doesn't work that way. And then Taz is progressively more Taz, and then Heyman like, "Yeah, okay, we're going to play his music, and I'm going to get out of the way."
Yeah, so we see this impromptu Taz is about to come out. We see, Paul Heyman ringing up the music. It just doesn't happen like surprise entrances usually do.
Exactly. So much better than the normal way of like, a guy's getting beat down and then a guy's music hit and here he comes in his gear. This is a much more logical way of explaining it. The little things here at this point in ECW were still a big part of the TV production and the overall presentation.
Taz's music starts. He makes his way out. He's carrying the ECW TV title. He's got the towel over his head. He hits the ring, immediately picks up and slams Big Dick Dudley down with a double leg takedown, and he starts raining down punches from the mount position.
It's wailing on him with forearms and punches. Yeah.
Dudley blocks the belly-to-belly attempt, and he tries to hammer Taz, but he goes for a choke slam. Taz easily slips out, goes behind, and nails Dudley with a German suplex, dropping him right on his head.
He murders him with this release German Tazplex, as Joey calls it, because back then every suplex was whatever the suplex was, but a Tazplex. But yes, absolutely like video game style, drops him on his head, locks on the Taz mission, and this match is almost literally over before it started. But we're not done, because after he submits Big Dick Dudley, he hits a T-bone Tazplex on Devon, an overhead Tazplex, clotheslines for everybody, including Sign Guy. As Joey Styles says, the path of rage runs through Pittsburgh.
Yeah, Taz grabs the mic after beating down all the Dudleys, and he screams, "You want to single me out, Bigelow? Nobody singles out Taz. I single you out."
He also calls him a big effing schmuck. And that was like more effective for me than anything else in this promo. Hearing Taz angry calling someone an effing schmuck was a beautiful thing.
And I don't know if you could tell or not, but the people love them some Taz. They were going berserk for Taz.
Yes, and if you were ever lucky enough to be at an ECW show that featured Taz before he left, which... we were at one where Taz was a full-fledged member of the roster, and then the crazy scene where everybody turned on Anarchy Rules on his last night in the company. But yeah, there are not too many live crowd reactions like people would have for Taz when he would hit the ring.
Yeah, his catchphrase to close it out, "You know why, because I'm Taz. Beat me if you can, survive if I let you," as the crowd joins in that chant with him. Awesome stuff here. Taz is the best.
He is. The crowd was not, though. If you notice, Taz was unhappy with their singing along, if you want to call it that. They're going along with his catchphrase. He basically called the crowd out for sucking on the catchphrase, tells them to do it again.
Made him do it again.
They do it much louder the second time. It's the only time I'm okay with going back and doing a spot, when it's a catchphrase, not a move. But with that, we move on. We're back to the broadcast position with Joey Styles, who says that we're still waiting to hear. I assume they went to a commercial at that point, and they come back. He says, we're still waiting to hear if Taz and Bam Bam Bigelow will team up against Shane Douglas, Chris Candido, and the triple threat prospect Lance Storm this Saturday night at Hostile City Showdown. He also says, which this was sort of the main story here, and this will play into as things go along, that this is another chance for Taz to show that his ECW World Television title is more valuable and more important than Shane Douglas's ECW World Championship. And at this point, we hop back into the time machine to see the last time they wrestled.
Yeah, we see clips all the way back to WrestlePalooza 97. This is June, so we're looking at just over 6 months back at Taz versus Shane Douglas. Douglas beating Taz with the title belt. I don't know who did color commentary for this show.
Rick Rude. This is Rick Rude.
Rick Rude?
That is Rick
terrible.
Rude he was horrible. Rick Rude, as much as I loved him as a wrestler, we've talked about it in season 1. Rick Rude selling atomic drops, everything about Rick Rude. He was not a good color commentator. Everything sounded like a pre-written line that he was just trying to read in the most Rick Rude way possible. There was also a time limit gimmick here that we didn't fully understand at first. And then they explain it as it goes. This was apparently a 3-minute challenge match, but the title was on the line. Taz had wrestled Sabu earlier in the evening. And Taz has a neck injury, so Shane is working it over here in the early stages of this very short match. He hits a suplex, a DDT, and an inverted rolling neck snap, which, good God, do I want that to come back. An inverted version of the Kurt Hennig rolling neck snap. That was a fantastic move.
Yeah, we're halfway through the 3-minute challenge.
And they're giving us time countdowns. Bob Ortiz is like 30 seconds into the match. 60 seconds into the match. And it's so funny because at first we don't know why, we don't know this time limit gimmick.
We don't know what's going on.
I do not remember time calls every 30 seconds anywhere, even in ECW, what is going on. And then we learn what the situation is.
Yeah, the crowd starts chanting, Taz, Taz, and he's able to get the Taz mission on Douglas. He's trying to hold on. He's fading with less than a minute. Douglas tries to break it by pushing off of the corner, but he couldn't.
He tries to do the Bret Hart, Roddy Piper WrestleMania 8 spot to get out of this, but is unsuccessful.
Yeah, he couldn't, and Douglas taps out. This was Taz becoming the TV champion here.
Yes. So yeah, that's, again, good job of going back and sort of telling the backstory of how we got to this point. I mean, really, in so many ways, this show, outside of a few things, this entire show is really just, it's one big angle and explainer of this situation between Taz and Shane Douglas, and now Bam Bam Bigelow. So very well done. We then go back to Joey Styles at the broadcast position. He says they will continue to cover the breaking news. He then goes on to tell us that this Saturday night is the 5th annual Hostile City Showdown. And then he says, and there's a graphic up on the screen, that they will have live play-by-play streaming audio on ECWWrestling.com, available for free.
Yeah, this was I howled with laughter when I heard that, because I was wondering if it was Joey Styles doing it or if they had someone else doing it. And
let's hope it wasn't Rick Rude.
It's definitely not Rick Rude, but yeah, if it was like a simulcast for a video tape or I don't know of what, but
yeah,
that I'm this was in the early stages of internet audio and internet radio, and
yeah, really the only live streaming radio show back then. It was also on like 600 affiliates, but Art Bell would stream live via Real Audio, and I believe through like broadcast.com through Mark Cuban's old company.
Yeah, I mean,
like,
I was
pretty much it.
Yeah, I was an EYATA listener for Brian Alvarez and Dave Meltzer's Wrestling Observer, and then WCW had their Jeremy Borash and Bob Ryder, their
WCW Live or whatever it's called.
Live, yeah, I would listen to that.
actually did something. We were talking about this off air right before we started recording, that WCW did a similar thing. I want to say it was in 97 or 98, maybe 97. I think it was like a Sunday night house show, like a big loaded up house show with like all the stars, like Hogan and the Outsiders and everybody. But it was, I think it was in LA at the Forum, and it was an internet only audio streaming thing, and they called it like Sunday Nitro. I think they only did it once, but yeah, this was a thing people were trying at this point.
Yeah, audio streaming talk shows were in their infancy, but audio streaming live events, that was very rare. So this was another ECW attempt at a innovative idea.
Yes, he also, Joey Styles, in this this explainer about how you can listen to this show for free, coming up on that Saturday. He also says, again, he said this multiple times on the show, that Hostile City Showdown will have a profound effect on our next pay-per-view, Living Dangerously, March 1st, 1998.
Again, listen to our review of that show. That episode is in season 1 of our archives right now. Go back and listen to it. It's especially after this show. If you haven't listened to that one, go back and listen to it. Because this is a good build for it.
Our main event, such as it is here on this professional wrestling show, the main event, ECW Hardcore TV. It is Al Snow with Head taking on Paul Diamond with Madam Chastity in his corner. Paul Diamond of AWA fame, of Bad Company fame, teaming with Pat Tanaka, one of our favorites on this podcast. Paul Diamond also teamed with Pat Tanaka in the WWF under the Kato mask as the Orient Express. Paul Diamond, I had completely forgotten that he had a couple cups of coffee here in ECW.
Yes, and then after the Orient Express in WWF, he would actually be rebranded as Max Moon.
Yes,
in WWF.
Max Moon, a in some ways like Jushin Liger almost inspired character that, if you recall, was actually initially going to be played, and I think they did a few dark matches with Conan in that gear. That
Conan, the one you're thinking of. Yes, that one.
That Conan of AAA, WCW, everywhere fame. So yeah, an interesting through line here for Paul Diamond.
Yeah, according to legend, Conan left the company and Diamond fit the Max Moon suit, so he got the gimmick.
There you go. Max Moon. God, I hope we get like a Superstars or something. I'm not going to lie, as a kid, when I saw Max Moon, I'm like, oh my God, that's my guy. And if you remember, when he first came in, he had the jetpack, and this little jetpack would take him from the floor to like the first step on the ring steps, and I was just like, oh my God, he has a jetpack. This is incredible.
Joey Styles gets in a good line here. He says, insert your Todd Pettengill joke here. Ouch.
Yes. He then says, as Al Snow's making his way to the ring, he said that Al Snow had 15 years in the business and couldn't catch a break despite his outstanding ability. Then he finds himself a little head, and the rest is history.
Al Snow gets advice from the Mannequin Head, and Diamond jumps Al Snow right before the bell. Snow fights back, neckbreaker, super kick, and Diamond's clotheslined over the top rope to the floor.
Well, first fashion corner on Paul Diamond. There isn't much of a fashion corner. He's not dressed like Max Moon, which is this blue, multicolored suit with like fake rubbery wires on it. He's not dressed in like red martial art pants with a black belt and a red mask like he was as Kato. He is just wearing a black singlet and he has long hair.
That's it.
And for some reason, we're getting a ton of Bill Clinton, Monica Lewinsky jokes here. I guess it's the head connection, but that was one of the examples of the more cringeworthy attempts of ECW trying to be edgy at that point.
On the outside, after a back rake distraction by Chastity, Diamond tries to attack Snow, but he gives him a drop toe hold, face first into the guardrail. Diamond gets crotched on the guardrail as well. Chastity begs Al for a timeout. This allows Diamond to push Chastity into Snow to get the advantage.
The idea here in ECW that like we've already seen multiple attempts of like wrestlers are just going to just beat up female managers, like they don't care. The idea that like Al Snow for 1 second not just go straight through Chastity to get to Paul Diamond was a little silly, but it's wrestling, a classic heel tactic. And then Paul Diamond slams Al Snow's head off the table. We get a couple chair shots.
Chair shot to the back and the injured shoulder of Al Snow.
Exactly. Al Snow's shoulder is taped up. Paul Diamond's working it over, slams the shoulder into the post. This is a match. Is kind of what I can say about it this way. This is a professional wrestling match on a professional wrestling television show.
Snow's crawling toward head in the corner, but Diamond continues the attack. He hits a leg lariat in the corner.
Yes, like a spinning savate kick in the corner. This is one of his cool moves that he would do. I believe he did this as Kato as well, where he's got the guy in the corner, runs, hits this leg lariat, the spinning savate kick, and as he does it, holds onto the top rope and all in one motion sort of flips over and lands on the apron. Very impressive, particularly from a guy of the size of Paul Diamond.
Diamond with a bulldog off the second rope. Diamond hits the most elaborate float over build up to just a DDT that you've ever seen.
Yes, this was it's hard to describe how unnecessary all these machinations were to get into a DDT.
Just a DDT.
Yes, it was in some ways impressive. In other ways, it almost would fit more in like very modern wrestling as far as just doing a bunch of different things to get into a move just so that it's different.
Yeah. Chastity on the apron. Al Snow rams Diamond and Chastity's heads together in, quote, a meeting of the minds.
Yeah. A double noggin knocker here in ECW, but it's, of course, because it's ECW, it's between the male wrestler and the female valet.
Which Joey Styles has a great line. He says, you can hear the echo all the way up here.
Yes.
Chastity tries to trip Snow, but when he falls down, Diamond and Snow's heads collide.
Yeah, basically she trips her guy, Paul Diamond, directly into causing him to headbutt Al Snow, like a falling headbutt. Wacky.
Snow grabs the head, hits Diamond low, then hits him in the head with it. Chastity jumps on Snow's back. She's thrown off quickly.
Joey's yelling about, I feel a disclaimer coming on here.
Chastity slaps Snow and then slaps the head. The mannequin head gets a slap from Chastity. Loud, you effed up chants for slapping the head.
It's so stupid. This whole thing with Al Snow and the mannequin head, it's incomprehensibly stupid. The only thing that's more incomprehensible about it is that this was the most over thing in ECW for a period of time, and we are right in the middle of that period of time.
Yes, he was getting a huge push. They would hand out these white mannequin heads.
Foam mannequin heads, yeah.
And so the visual was great. And
the visual was great. The thing that sucked, though, was the audio of that. The audio version of that, if you recall, whatever pay-per-view it was where Al Snow eventually got a title shot against Shane Douglas, and the entire show, you've got like several thousand people rubbing these styrofoam heads together, and it's just like, you think like vuvuzelas at soccer games were annoying? You've not heard anything yet.
Snow hits Chastity low with the head, picks her up. He hits his move, the snowplow, on Chastity. Snowplow on Paul Diamond as well. Al Snow gets the 3 count. He's your winner. And Al Snow then makes the ref count 3 as he put the head onto Chastity so that head could pin Chastity as well. Al Snow, your victor in just a match.
Yeah, this was just a match, and I feel like we're being a little generous by calling it just a match. It wasn't. The work was fine. The head stuff is dumb. It's even dumber looking back at it now. But again, it worked, so you can't argue with it. The crowd loved it. People came to see that. Joey Styles says, wow, at the end of this match. I said wow as well, but it was more of a sarcastic wow. And yeah, that's that.
Okay, so now buckle up for this.
The true main event of this show. It is an ECW Pulp Fiction segment.
after commercial, we see Rob Van Dam saying, "Okay, ECW marks, RVD is going to explain to us the difference between athletes like him and Sabu instead of guys like Sandman or Dreamer. RVD is going to do the Van Dam lift, and he's got officials there to record this as a world record."
Oh, yes. He has John Vernaccio of the U.S. Weightlifting Association. I also love how Rob Van Dam says, quote, "I'm going to show the kids how cool I am."
So this lift that he's doing is basically...
This is insane.
Yeah,
I had no recollection of this.
This
of
is
this
super
lift
impressive.
existing. This is more impressive than any flaming table spot, any barbed wire match. This is the most impressive physical feat I have seen in any ECW that I watch, and I've seen most, if not all of it.
RVD is doing the splits between two bench press benches. So he's got his legs,
and they are
on the
not
benches.
close together. These bench press, they are social distancing.
And he is completely spread out in full splits here.
Yes.
And he reaches down and pulls up a weight. So he's holding a weight to his chest while he's in the splits.
And he's cutting a promo while doing this, seemingly not winded or physically affected at all.
No, and awesome surf music playing underneath this the entire time.
Yes, that was the classic music they would have playing under the ECW. They called it or people called it. I don't know if they officially called it, but the Pulp Fiction segments where you'd have that music playing, and then they would just go from promo to promo to promo and back and forth throughout. Very, very cool.
Super fast cut. So we cut away from that immediately to Shane Douglas, Francine, and the tag team champions, Chris Candido and Lance Storm.
They're in the lobby of the Golden Dome.
Douglas says, "Bigelow, you left the triple threat because Rude got in your ear. He was right. We were going to throw your ass out anyway." Lance throws up the three fingers, saying he's loyal to the triple threat, but Candido's quickly there to remind him he's not in the triple threat yet. He's just the prospect.
Yeah, so laying some seeds, planting some seeds, laying some groundwork there. We then go because the one thing this show needed was more Al Snow and Head.
Just an immediate jump cut. Like these are not there's no transitions between.
They don't do the scratch. The record
boom,
scratch.
Boom, boom, boom.
Quick. Yeah, we're just going
cuts.
straight from one thing to the other. It's Al Snow. It's Head. They're talking about picking boogers, trials and tribulations. All he needed was a little head. Okay, I'm ready for the next part of this.
Yeah, we quick cut, and we're back to RVD. The official weight for the dumbbell, 166.5 pounds, we're told.
Yes, this is a new dumbbell. He did a demonstration with a smaller dumbbell earlier. He's now getting ready to do the actual thing that John Vernaccio of the U.S. Weightlifting Association is here to document officially.
Van Dam goes into the splits position. He picks it up. They get the photo. He drops the weight and says, "I never claimed to be a showstopper because I'm the whole effing show."
And if you recall, this is at the point where Shawn Michaels is not only the Heartbreak Kid in the WWF, but he is also the showstopper. So that's what that was a little shot at.
And quick cut to Shane Douglas again. Everything about the triple threat is a damn shoot. While I said I'm the franchise, I am because the big two tries to copy us every week.
He then says that Sunny is the most, this is a quote, "the most downloaded woman in AOL history." And I don't know if there's a more dated late 90s sentence in the English language than "Sunny is the most downloaded woman in AOL history."
On January 31st, we will raise the three fingers high in the air. And then we quick cut to Bam Bam Bigelow. He's running down.
Before we get that, that ends with Lance Storm saying, "I can't wait." So Lance Storm really, really wants to be a full-fledged member here of the triple threat. Even though he's got that rat tail, he still thinks he's going to get in.
Quick cut to Bigelow. He's running downstairs. He's outside. It's snow, like there's snow on the ground. Not Al Snow, but real, actual snow on the ground. He's screaming, "Where is Taz? Where's his car?"
He's in full gear. He's in full Bam Bam Bigelow, spandex bodysuit, which one of my favorite / least favorite things in pro wrestling is when you have guys in their full gear outside of the arena. It always looks so ridiculous. But it worked because Bigelow's like, he's so desperate. He doesn't care. He needs to find Taz. My favorite part of this by far is, I don't know if you caught who it was that he threw into the snow to get to where he needed to get to. It was a young Danny Doring. I love seeing Dan just for having the temerity to use that horrible move, the bareback, as his finisher. In years to come, he deserved to be tossed into the snow by Bam Bam Bigelow here.
I get that you think that wrestlers in their gear outside look ridiculous, but I feel like that's Bam Bam's look at all times. Like, yes. I couldn't see if he would look weird wearing something else. Like when you're a kid and you see a teacher out in public and you're like, oh, this is weird. You
go to a concert and your teacher is there. You're like, what is going on? That would be Bam Bam Bigelow wearing like jeans and a t-shirt, eating his breakfast, reading the newspaper.
Exactly. Yeah. So Bigelow stops Taz's car. He gets out. Bigelow says, "This is your chance to prove yourself," which Taz answers, "Don't tell me to prove myself. What do you want, money? You want me on my hands and knees begging? You gotta help me." Bigelow's
we cannot
pleading.
Do enough justice to how incredible both of them are here in this moment. They are both. Taz is as Taz as you've ever seen him. Atlas Security is with him. He sends Atlas Security off. And I also love that Bam Bam Bigelow, like, he clearly throughout the course of this TV program, he's been thinking of what psychological ploys, what things can he say to get to Taz, to get Taz to accept. And now he's basically saying that this is Taz's opportunity, as Joey Styles said earlier on the broadcast, to prove that the TV title is worth more than the world title. And he can do that by getting a shot at Shane Douglas in this tag match.
And Taz, continuing to be his badass self, he finally just says, "I'm going to team with you for one reason."
Well, hold on. You're missing one of the best parts of this whole thing. Bam Bam Bigelow, after Taz says that he doesn't want money, Bam Bam says, "Fine, I'll get on my hands and knees and I will beg."
Yes,
and
you want me on your hands and knees begging.
Taz, so Bigelow does, and Taz tells him in like the most Taz voice possible to get up and be a man. Just fantastic pro wrestling.
It's so good. He said he's gonna he's gonna team with them for one reason. After I'm done killing the triple threat myself, I'll give you a TV title shot.
But he says my world title because, again, in his mind, the world TV title is the true world championship.
That's right. So you're gonna be my partner. Taz says I'm gonna be your savior.
Well, this is so much better. It is, but Taz. So Bigelow goes to shake his hand. Taz like wipes the hand away and says, "No, brother, I'm gonna be your savior."
Taz, this is peak Taz here. If you only know Taz as a manager in AEW or a commentator for WWE, or
yes, this is not him saying a rocket buster sitting next to Michael Cole.
Go watch this show and see how awesome Taz was, and then watch the Living Dangerously pay-per-view and his match with Bigelow. It's phenomenal. This was so great. I enjoyed every minute of Taz. We then get a graphic dedicating the show to Tommy Dreamer's grandfather. And then we cut to Joey Styles, who tells us it will be 3-on-2 at Hostile City Showdown. Storm, Candido, and Douglas versus Taz and Bigelow. If you can't be in the ECW arena, results will be available on option 3 of the ECW Hardcore hotline after the show.
I have questions. So first, earlier on the show, they tell us we can listen live for free. But now they're telling us that it's a better idea to call the whatever's 99 cents a minute or $1.99 a minute hotline to hear them read off the results.
Now, to be fair, this is 1998, so not everybody had high-speed internet to be able to listen to the show live.
You could I remember listening to live. It was horrible quality, but live streaming audio on my dial-up that I had back then. I listened to Art Bell on dial-up.
I mean, I remember trying to download a picture of Sonny on AOL on dial-up, and it took forever. I needed high speed to be able to do that, so I could only assume to listen to the live stream, I would need to have that as well. So
valid point.
I did not ever call the ECW Hardcore hotline. The only hotline I ever called was WCW's 1-900-909-9900. That was the only hotline that got my money.
Yes, if anyone was going to bait and switch me on a hotline deal, it was only going to be Mean Gene Okerlund. He's the only one I trusted to swerve me.
So they push ECW's fourth pay-per-view, Living Dangerously, as well. We get a little Al Snow music video because one thing the show could have used is a little more Al Snow.
This is our fifth Al Snow segment, and this was not a little Al Snow video. This was, again, the entire Al Snow Firestarter entrance music set to highlights in zooming upside down Al Snow fashion. That was a downer of a way to end the show. I was unhappy.
It was a little nostalgic seeing it again because I'm like, oh my gosh, I forgot how popular those foam heads were, and just how popular he was at his ECW. His ECW moment was very popular, like we talked about earlier. This show focused on two things. One was the main triple threat Bigelow feud featuring Taz, because this would spin off to a Bigelow-Taz feud eventually down the road, and Al Snow as becoming a contender, the next big contender for the world title. So if those were the two things this show wanted to accomplish, it did a fantastic job. This show, we were able to parachute right in. We were caught up on everything going on with this main feud, who the players were, why this was important, and there was no scratching your head or questions about what was going on. You were caught up. You were brought into it. The performances of Bigelow and Taz, just, if you weren't a fan, if you watched this show, you were like, I want to see more of all of these guys. Yes, open up my veins. Give me more of these guys. This is great stuff. And you understood that Al Snow was important. You might not have fallen in love with him quite yet after just one match with Paul Diamond.
Yeah. The nostalgia of Al Snow was fine. Al Snow and Head was fine once. This was more than I needed to see, but it I guess it worked within the context of what they were doing at the time. And Al Snow, no greater example of Paul Heyman's ability to somehow make guys that never worked elsewhere into stars than that whole situation.
What's your favorite moment, favorite things on this show?
Taz being Taz throughout. By far, Taz is the MVP of this show. My favorite moment of the show was was Bigelow, asking if he's going to be his partner, and Taz saying, as I said, "No, brother, I'm going to be your savior." That was just perfect. Like, that was something out of like a mob movie here brought to life in ECW. Least favorite thing is way too much Al Snow and Head. Yeah, and I don't even know if I know we're going to, on this season, when appropriate, still do favorite match. I don't know if I have a favorite match. Well, I guess I would say Taz versus Big Dick Dudley in the 30 seconds that existed.
That's why
we're part of Taz being awesome here.
That's why we're adjusting it to favorite thing. Sometimes that favorite thing might be a match, but in this case, it was absolutely. I'd say, for me, it was every segment that involved Taz. I mean, he was just over and Bigelow did. This was a heck of a performance from a guy like you mentioned earlier that you don't think of as the backstage performer, the good promo. He was a
character guy.
And he did a great job here, just, trying to be a scary guy who's just begging for
Yeah.
for Taz to help him out and be his partner. So
Which isn't an easy thing to do effectively, to be a big scary guy projecting being big and scary while also projecting desperation, needing someone to do something for him. That was really, in some ways, maybe the most impressive thing on the show, because Taz is just, at this time, was just awesome. He was just that Taz character all the time. You expected that. I didn't expect this type of performance from Bigelow in this setting here.
No, it was absolutely a fun show, and that is what season 2 of this podcast is all about. We're watching weekly television shows. If you want reviews of major events, pay-per-views, those big specials, that's available. That's season 1. We've got over 30 episodes in the back
34.
catalog.
34 of those type of episodes sitting there, right there for you, like you said, including Living Dangerously 98, which this show was building to. I did want to mention, Jeremy, before we end this, what ended up actually happening at Hostile City Showdown 98, the major event that they were most directly building to here. In that match, that handicap match, where it was Taz and Bam Bam Bigelow taking on Chris Candido, Lance Storm, and Shane Douglas, Bam Bam Bigelow turned on Taz. Chris Candido turned on the triple threat prospect Lance Storm, leading to the new, again, triple threat of Chris Candido, Bam Bam Bigelow, and Shane Douglas heading into Living Dangerously 98.
So good. And I want to remind everyone that the best way to interact with this show is on social media. That's Twitter, at WrestleAtRandom. It's the same for Instagram as well. If you stay away from Twitter because it's a cesspool, I understand. Email also works. WrestlingAtRandom@gmail.com is the way to interact with the show there. We reply to everybody. DMs are open on Twitter as well. So we reply to everybody. We love interacting with everyone. It doesn't matter if you just went back and listened to an episode at the beginning of season 1 and you have some comments. We want to hear about it. So don't think It's too late to interact with the show. It absolutely is not. Jump on that right now. We want to hear from you no matter where you are in the Wrestling at Random journey. And make sure that Facebook.com/WrestlingAtRandom as well. Give us a like there. And, of course, subscribing to the podcast is key for us. We want to make sure that you're subscribed so you never miss an episode. Every single Thursday, we're going to post what next week's episode is going to cover. And every Sunday, a new episode will be hitting your feed. So make sure you're subscribed so you do not miss out. And make sure that you tell your wrestling fan friends about the show if you like it. Tell them about the show. Help them subscribe. Tell your friends who used to be wrestling fans. Show them how to subscribe as well. Tell them about it. Have them take a trip down memory lane with us.
Definitely. And also tell your estranged friend about the show. We can't promise that it'll mend your friend trip, but we can promise they'll probably like the podcast. And that's, probably worth at least as much to us.
And so with that, we're going to wrap it up. WrestlingAtRandom.com has all the links to help you subscribe. We're available anywhere podcasts are. If you find us, if you want us on something we're not on, let us know. We will get there, but I'm pretty sure I got them all covered. So make sure you go subscribe. Again, WrestlingAtRandom.com. And with that, we're going to wrap it up. Adam, thanks for joining us.
Definitely. Thank you, Jeremy. I think this is a good way to start season 2. The randomizer did us well. Not a weekly TV show that is, really high on a ton of great matches. But if you want to see a weekly TV show that's just an example of the different, changing, unique format of ECW television, not a bad one to pick out and watch.
That's right. We've loaded up the randomizer with thousands and thousands of weekly television options. We're going to fire it up every single week, and we will bring you an episode of some show from some period of time, from some promotion. So make sure you're subscribed. And I want to thank everyone for listening, and we'll talk to you again next time.